these three college football teams are not getting enough respect for the 2026 season. I'm going to be breaking down three teams that have win totals that are way too low that you need to know about before this season starts. Before I continue on, make sure to hit the subscribe button on the channel, hit the like button on this video, and go on over to thesportsgeek.com and sign up for our Beat the Geek contest, where the grand prize winner gets an NFL trip for two, as well as other weekly prizes. Go on over to thesportsgeek.com to sign up. All right, first team that I want to talk about here that has a weirdly low win total, Oklahoma. Win total is set at 7.5. Now, I understand why that would be the case, because they have a difficult schedule. They have the number 2 strength of schedule on ESPN. Oftentimes when you're playing an SEC slate, now with a 9-game SEC slate, it is going to impact your strength of schedule, and it's going to look a lot harder than it probably ends up being. They're in a circumstance where they play Georgia, Texas, and Ole Miss. Those are 3 really hard games, but I think that the rest of their schedule is accomplishable for them to, at the very least, go 9-3, or at least win 8 games and do better than 7-5 during the regular season. A lot of this comes down to my belief and buy-in to what this Oklahoma team brings to the table. I personally deeply believe that they have the best defense in the SEC. I think that their front 7 is the most talented in the conference. It's one of the best front 7s in the country, only behind Oregon for me. And their secondary is also really, really well put together with the Bowen brothers on the back end. But when you got Taylor Wine, Adebawore, David Stone, and Jaden Jackson wreaking havoc up front, it sets up everybody to play at a very, very high level. That talent is exactly what Venables has been trying to build over the past couple of years, and it's reminiscent of the elite defenses that he had when he was the defensive coordinator at Clemson, built through the trenches. We all know that the SEC is a conference that is won and lost in the trenches. If you have an elite defensive line, you are going to be able to win close games. On top of this, their offensive line has been a liability recently. They started to improve at the end of the year, and I think that with some of the young guys that stepped in at the end of last season, that offensive line is going to start to be one of the better offensive lines in the conference. Not the best, but one of the better offensive lines in the conference. Lastly, I think that John Mateer is being mischaracterized for what he is capable of doing in his final year with the Sooners. He has been established as a guy who is a good athlete, but is not a steady passer. I think that we're deriving a lot of that belief off of how he performed in the second half of last year after he returned from the hand injury. His accuracy was all over the place. And you ask any athlete, any quarterback especially, if you can't trust your own hand, it is going to affect your confidence, which then affects your decision-making. I think that led to, outside of the bad accuracy, I think that led to a lot of his turnovers and bad throws that he had at the very end of the season, where he just could not catch a rhythm like he did at the beginning of the year, like he played against Michigan, where he looked fantastic. He looked like a possible Heisman contender. I think that Mateer is going to get back to that, and I think the one interesting piece that no one's talking about, everybody's oohing and eyeing and getting really excited over the fact that he's gotten really big and he's all bulked up, and people are joking about, like, why is he so jacked? Their run game was not very steady when he returned, and they didn't really use him as much as they were in the beginning of the year as a runner. I feel like he's bulking up because Oklahoma needs him, really, really needs him to be a piece for their rushing attack. And having that bulked up frame is going to help him take carries and take hits, and he will open up this offense further. I think that Mateer, we need to give him the benefit of the doubt. We need to give him respect, because he has the tools to be a freaking awesome quarterback in the SEC this season. The next team that I like their win total, shocking how low this is. Minnesota, over 5.5 wins. 5.5 wins. Now, you might be wondering, why would Minnesota be good this year? They're always just kind of like middle-of-the-pack team. First of all, they have the 34th strength of schedule. It's one of the lower strength of schedules in the Big Ten. They do not face Ohio State, Oregon, and USC. They do have to play Indiana and Michigan. Those are their 2 hardest games on their schedule. They have a very favorable opportunity ahead for them to put together a 7-5, 8-4 season. But the reason why I like this Minnesota squad, they've got a lot of underrated pieces. Anthony Smith is one of the best defensive linemen in the country. He has been one of the best defensive linemen in the Big Ten his entire career. And when he decided to come back, it was kind of shocking to a degree because nobody was anticipating that he'd be returning because the NFL was so interested in him. On top of this, their offensive line is anchored by two dudes that I think are going to get drafted in the top 100 of the 2027 NFL Draft. Greg Johnson and Ashton Beers. Ashton Beers is a center that you don't know about that's one of the best in the country. Greg Johnson, who moved from center to guard, is an awesome, phenomenal guard. He is super reliable. He's physical. Both these guys are physical. They're going to be able to run the ball well with Darius Taylor. They're going to be able to make plays on defense. But most importantly, you also have Drake Lindsay, who is one of the more physically gifted quarterbacks in the country. He's on the radar as possibly maybe being a first-round pick if he takes a huge leap this upcoming year. I think that his tools allow you to win games that you're not supposed to, and having a guy that is a plus passer is only going to create opportunities and chances for you to win close games in crunch time moments. Drake Lindsay, this Minnesota team are worth buying into. Lastly, in a very similar argument here, Cal, over 6.5 wins. Now, that seems like a tough number for Cal to hit because they've been pretty inconsistent since they joined the ACC. They have a very, very favorable schedule as well. 61st on ESPN strength of schedule. They avoid playing Miami and Louisville, two of the better teams in the ACC. They get to host, which there is a lot of importance for Cal getting to host teams. Not all these games are going to be late kickoffs, but the body clock impact of teams traveling all the way from the East Coast to San Fran, it's an insanely far trip for most of these programs. And we've seen that a lot of times if there are late kickoffs and it's like a 10 o'clock kickoff, 10 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, it shows up with the way the guys are performing. They look groggy. They look half asleep. No matter what a coach tells you in the press conference, we're doing this to the sleep schedule. We're doing this X, Y, and Z. We're practicing super late at night to get prepared for it. It doesn't mean enough. Guys will play slow when they're traveling across the country. They get to host Clemson, Virginia Tech, and Pitt, which are the next three best tough opponents that they have, except for a couple of these games that they have where there's a tough stretch, where they go to SMU, to NC State, and UVA. Those three games, they could drop all three of those theoretically, but even if that were the case, there's enough chances for them to put together an 8-win season. They're actually one of the more experienced rosters in the ACC. They have the 10th most snaps for their projected lineup for this year. 10th snaps from a year ago. There is a lot of experience with this team. I think that Adam Muhammad is a very underrated running back who transferred over from Washington. But lastly, Jaron Kiwe Sagapulatele has a live arm. He was able to make some unbelievable throws as a true freshman, despite being on a bad team. He kept them alive in games that they weren't supposed to. And I think that Tosh Lupoi is going to elevate the floor of this team, and a guy like JKS is going to be able to take them over the top. Cal, to me, could be if I'm picking a team overall in general that could shock people across the board, do way better than anybody's anticipating, I think it's going to be Cal. If they're on 8-win team, and everyone's saying, is this Cal team on the up and up? Are they going to do serious damage in 2027? I think that they're able to capably accomplish that. Comment below who you think is being underrated and what win total bet that you're taking for this upcoming year. Hit the like button on this video, subscribe so you don't miss out, and go on over to thesportsgeek.com to sign up for the Beat the Geek contest. I'll talk to you later.